morning everybody, good morning, it's JPR and welcome back to another video. So if you recall, a few weeks ago I made a video called the best features removed in every generation, and at the end of that video I said, you know what, let's do the more positive version soon, let's do best added features. Even though the internet loves negativity, but maybe you guys could prove me wrong on this one. Anyway, time to uphold my promise, let's take a look at the best features added in every generation except Gen 1, because literally everything was added in Gen 1, so it's a bit hard to narrow down. So starting us off for once will be Gen 2, and I'm gonna go ahead and cheat because there's two major features that were introduced in this generation, and both of them I think have done wonders for the Pokemon franchise, so it would be a bad look to ignore either of them. The first one is shiny Pokemon. Of course, the obvious thing that most new games on the Game Boy Color would be adding is color itself. But I don't think any game made the mere addition of different hues as fun as Pokemon did. There's literally nothing special about a shiny Pokemon other than the fact that it's a different color. Sometimes the color really isn't different at all, and in some cases the shiny just straight up looks worse. But it really doesn't matter because just the act of encountering and catching a shiny Pokemon is a legendary feat in itself, and one that we've all chased at some point or another. It truly is amazing how something that has zero impact on the actual gameplay has had such an enormous impact for fans of the game. People like things that are rare, and people like things that come in different colors. Boom, you've just created the most valuable thing in the game. Now yes, color did also give us the day and night cycle, which is another fantastic addition. I'm not trying to slight that one by any means. But shiny Pokemon were such a simple and fun concept. It's like free serotonin when you get one. Well, not exactly free. Some of us actually waste way too many hours looking for them. The other major addition that I want to discuss is breeding. Again, this is another one that wouldn't immediately come to the forefront of your brain. I mean, most of us aren't tryhards breeding for good IVs and natures during the main story. If you are, why? I'm genuinely curious, these games aren't that hard. But really, think about it, it's an amazing quality of life buff for those of us trying to complete the Pokedex. It means if we want all the starters, we don't have to buy another Game Boy and another copy of the game to trade it over or bribe our friends with money and favors. You can just breed your own starter and then auction them off on your own black market. Actually, that sounds really bad, let me backpedal on that analogy real quick. And plus, we get baby Pokemon! Who cares? I don't, but I know somebody would mention it if I didn't. But yeah, we don't really think enough about the convenience that breeding Pokemon has offered us. This ties directly into the entire premise that founder Satoshi Tajiri built Pokemon on, which is connecting and trading with your friends. That's a lot easier to do when you don't have to sit down and read Art of the Deal as a third grader and polish your bartering skills. You can just breed a Pokemon and trade it, no strings attached. Okay, never mind, I'm gonna cheat again in Gen 3, just forget there was ever any kind of a limit in place. And although I want to say secret bases, I'm gonna hold myself back because I already talked about those in my last video on features, so don't think I'm accidentally ignoring that one. The first new feature this generation gave us was Pokemon Contests, a way to show your Pokemon off in a way outside of battles. You also had Pokeblocks, which tied those berries that you picked across Hoenn into this as well, making it a neat little package deal. There's picking the berries, watering the berries, blending the Pokeblocks at the speed of sound, customizing your Pokemon's appeal stats, and then there's the actual contest itself. You see, it's not just the contest that makes the contest cool. Because truthfully, on their own, they're really not. It's the culmination of all these things. It really makes you feel like you're progressing and growing with your Pokemon in a way that isn't just battling with them. It really helps in making your experience feel more unique. Speaking of unique, let's discuss the newly added abilities and natures. Abilities were great for adding more depth to your Pokemon and allowing them to do things that you'd naturally think they'd be able to do, like coughing, levitating, and dodging ground moves. That just makes sense at the end of the day, but it's not something that they could convey through the typing alone. Having Levitate just be his ability makes a lot more sense than making him a poison flying type, and then there are some Pokemon like Castform and Shedinja who are built around their ability more than anything else. Although in Gen 3, every Pokemon can only have one ability, they can get up to 2 in Gen 4 and up to 3 in Gen 5, so that's why I'm lumping it in as a customization option. Natures are just a nice way of further optimizing your Pokemon, having them stick out from the crowd, although on most casual playthroughs they're probably more of a hindrance than anything. There's nothing worse than starting off on a new adventure only to realize an hour into the game that you have an adamant Froakie. Breeding during the main story doesn't sound so bad anymore. And to bridge natures and Pokeblocks together, natures will also affect the taste of your Pokemon and how they react to being fed certain Pokeblocks. For example, a hardy Pokemon will jump in place 3 times, and a docile Pokemon won't react at all. The Pokemon's taste preference will also determine the effectiveness of the Pokeblock, which I just think is a really cool detail. It makes the Pokemon feel more alive. Okay, so this shouldn't come as a secret, but Gen 4 added a lot of cool stuff. First up, the Underground, a dedicated multiplayer space, pretty much the wild area, like 13 years before the wild area, and a lot more fun, at least in my opinion. There's mining for gems, stones, and shards, making secret bases, stealing the flag from your friends, laying traps. There is so much fun to be had in the Sinnoh Underground. Even if you had no friends, just being able to mine alone is pretty cool. Although a little sad. This felt like the first really big step that Pokemon took towards making a more multiplayer-focused experience. The other big step that they took in this generation in regard to connectivity, aside from Wi-Fi contests and Wi-Fi poffin cooking and Wi-Fi battles, was the addition of the Global Trade Station. Easily the biggest feat of Pokemon on the DS. Now, yeah, the GTS wasn't perfect, as many of us know, but still, can we sit back and appreciate that we were able to trade Pokemon around the world in 2007? Before the first iPhone had even come out, when sites like YouTube and Twitter were still in their infancy. Nintendo and Game Freak somehow made this global phenomenon work relatively hassle-free. That in itself is quite impressive. But even on the single-player side of things, Gen 4 gave us probably the best innovation to battling: the physical special split. Now you didn't have to memorize a chart of which types were physical, which were special. All you had to do was look at this little icon. This also did wonders for Pokemon whose stats were horribly mismatched with their types. One of my favorite examples is Sneasel, a Pokemon clearly designed to be a physical attacker, but both Dark and Ice were special types prior to Gen 4, which meant Sneasel pretty much sucked. He couldn't take full advantage of his moveset. But now he can use Ice Punch and newly introduced moves like Night Slash to actually become a decent Pokemon. This change alone single-handedly saved many Pokemon from being completely useless, and it deserves all the credit in the world. The first new feature Gen 5 gives us slaps us right in the face as soon as the game begins: Seasons. I talked a little about Seasons before, but I wanted to say a bit more about them this time. First off, Seasons can drastically alter the appearance of certain areas, especially in northern Unova. While spring isn't too eventful, in summer, Undella Town becomes a hot tourist destination. In autumn, leaves fall and cover trenches, allowing you to progress further through some areas. And in winter, wetlands freeze over and snow piles up over Twist Mountain and Icera City. I always liked Seasons because it added depth to a lot of areas. You know that feeling of first getting surf and wanting to go back to every tile of water from earlier in the game just to see what you missed out on? Well, with Seasons, it's that same feeling, but it applies to the entire game. NPCs will show up in certain places depending on the season, wild Pokemon encounters change, background music changes. It's just a lot of neat little things that make you feel like you could experience the entire game all over again with a fresh coat of paint. And since the seasons change every month, you won't have to wait terribly long either. Up next is the Memory Link feature. This one is like 3 features rolled into one. It's really neat. Although, like the key system I mentioned in previous videos, this one may have been a little hard to access for the average player since it required using 2 Nintendo DS's. Basically, Memory Link allowed you to synchronize your data of Pokemon Black 2 and White 2 with the prequels. NPCs will remember your name from the previous game, they'll talk more about your accomplishments, Charon and Bianca can be battled in the post-game using their old teams, you can obtain N's previously owned Pokemon in the wild, and most importantly, you unlock 8 different flashbacks explaining in further detail what happened in the 2-year gap between the games. Some of these are really heavy, like why Chili, Silent, and Crest resigned as gym leaders, Team Plasma members wondering what to do without the leadership of N, and then there's just neat stuff like Iris succeeding Alder as the champion. I think this feature goes a long way towards making Black 2 and White 2 feel like the most fleshed out and complete Pokemon games. The Memory Link leaves no stone unturned. 2 words. Trainer customization. That should be enough, right? That doesn't need an explanation? Okay, moving on. And also, I gotta go with all of the bottom screen features that this generation introduced. In XY, that includes the player search system, where you can connect with your friends more easily than ever before, and it came with some brand new features attached, like Wonder Trade, which sparked things like Wonderlocks and other creative ideas here on YouTube. Then there's Pokemon and Me, a feature that somewhat replicates Nintendogs, but with your Pokemon, allowing you to feed them, pet them, play mini-games with them, raise their affection, and then bulldoze the rest of the game with that stupidly overpowered mechanic. Sorry. But just being able to care for and connect with your Pokemon is really neat instead of just forcing them to battle every 5 minutes and then pretending to care for them. But it's no wonder why this specific feature has been remixed into Pokemon Refresh and Pokemon Camp over the years. It's certainly one of the most enjoyable ones. Next, Super Training, the new easy way to raise your Pokemon's EVs, until you realize that horde battling with Pokerus and training items is just way faster. but it's the thought that counts. My compliments extend into Oras as well, where we also get the Dex Nav feature allowing you to hunt specific species, egg moves, hidden abilities, and shinies easier than ever before. It even keeps track of all the Pokemon available in your area and is a perfect excuse to reuse that nostalgic sprite art from the Gen 3 games. It's the little things that count the most in my book. My personal favorite addition in Gen 7 is regional variants. Now, there's not a ton of the Alolan forms that I actually like over the originals. It's basically just Ninetales, Marowak, and Exeggutor that I think are cool, but it's more the concept than the designs themselves. Just the idea that Pokemon can appear differently in different parts of the world, just like real-life species. I think this also helps us see the culture of the region put onto the Pokemon as well, like Galarian Mr. Mime and Mr. Rhyme being a Charlie Chaplin reference, a real-life British person. But yeah, needless to say, I'm happy that regional variants returned in Galar, and hopefully they'll keep it up in the future. It's a great way to revitalize older, forgotten Pokemon, but maybe we could lay off the Gen 1 a tiny bit more, just saying. Gen 7 would also give us some more minor additions, like Mantine Surfing, which is like Diet Soaring, still kinda fun, but a little too repetitive for my liking, and then the Pokefinder, which is Walmart brand Pokemon Snap. It's just okay. For Generation 8, and yeah, this is definitely the low-hanging fruit, but max raid battles are pretty cool, specifically the Dynamax adventures from the Crown Tundra. I think they're decently challenging, involve a little more strategy, and are a bit faster paced than the original raid battles. The fact that Dynamax adventures have such a high shiny rate makes them an awesome time killer for shiny hunters too. It even lets you get a variety of shiny legendaries that were shiny locked in previous titles. Take a shot for every time I said shiny in that sentence. Actually, please don't. And while not brand new features, Sword and Shield also offer a variety of quality of life upgrades, such as having instant access to the move relearner, being able to change Pokemon's nature using mints from the Battle Tower, and being able to max out your Pokemon's EVs using vitamins instead of being capped at 10 uses. This makes competitive battling so much easier to get into and then immediately back out of thanks to the 20-minute battle timer they refuse to patch out. But at the very least, that makes getting into VGC easier than ever before, which I suppose was their real goal all along. Thanks for watching today's video. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one, and leave a like if you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time.